welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. Today, I'm going to come clean and tell you that I was walking my dog and it was late morning, I think. No. It was early afternoon. It doesn't matter. I was walking Autumn and I thought to myself, this is terrible living like this. And because my head was just not feeling good today. I don't know if it was from going to my appointment yesterday in DC or I was texting with my brother. I was voice texting with him, but still looking at my phone to make sure that it said the words right and everything. I don't know, or if it was everything, I'm not sure. But I just really felt terrible today. And I took a nap and it ended up being like a 3-hour nap. I had all these plans about what I was going to do today. I have my quilt that I'm going to make. I have a dresser that I'm upcycling for the bedroom. And I just laid down and I'm like, I can't do anything. And I went on the walk and I was thinking, oh, I really should do my vestibular exercises today while I'm walking. And I was like, I can't. And then I thought, I can't do anything. Like, this is terrible. And then I started having this feeling like I'm trapped inside this body that doesn't work for the rest of my life. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was trapped. And I started notice like it was spinning. It was starting to spin out of control. And I was starting to think about all the things that I can't do, but I was thinking it from the perspective of all the things I can't do for the rest of my life. Like I'm trapped inside this. Like what has happened to me changed me forever. Um, and so I was trapped in this negative spiral, and I'm sharing it because it's important, because that's what happens in recovery. And we have to find a way to pull ourselves out of that. Just yesterday, I was sharing on the podcast about not being wrapped up in the small things, the diamonds that don't align in the center of the quilt, but looking at the whole quilt, looking at our whole lives, and looking at the beauty within our whole lives. So I've been doing that today because there is so much beauty in my life, and there's so much to be grateful for. What I did was, towards the end of my walk, I kept saying, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm great. Like I really had to start actively doing gratitude. And so I wanted to share that as a action that I participated in myself in order to save myself today from just continuing to sink mentally. So I thought, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for this being able to walk. Even though, I was walking and my head hurt and I couldn't really look around and enjoy it the way that I would back when I used to run and all that stuff. But, something happened to me that, yeah, I can't change. And it has affected the rest of my life, my whole life, but it has affected my life in a way that I can still be resilient. I can still make things great. I can still do a lot of things, even though at the beginning of the walk, I was thinking of all the things I can't do. So by actively saying, yeah, but I am grateful for, and really participating in that and taking an active role in my self-talk and turning it around, I have at least gotten myself to the point where I'm feeling okay today. Like I don't feel good or bad. I feel, you know, I feel like today was a rest day. I think that's what it ended up being really for me. Even though that's not what I had planned it to be, that's what it was. And honestly, I laughed a lot with my husband tonight. So that's a win. You know, I did share with him that that's what I was feeling. But I think maybe I said it when he was reading something on his phone, so I didn't really hear a reaction. But that's okay. Like I said it out loud, you know, and that's what's important for me because typically, like back when I was drinking, or if I'm letting my depression feed on itself, I won't even say it out loud. I'll just be like, um, thinking to myself, poor me, this is how I feel. And I would be sitting there thinking in front of my husband, but not saying to him, living like this is terrible. You know, that's what I would be thinking in my mind. And it's not fair to not share that with the people who love us. So, um, anyway, I am still moving forward and up, and I always will be moving forward and up no matter what. Because I don't have a choice if my only other option is to die. And I don't want to, you know, I don't want to drink. And I want to be happy. And I know that I can because I've seen it happen. And so one day does not a life make, you know? So that's where I'm at. I just wanted to share that so that if there's anybody else who is experiencing days like that, maybe you can try that. Just start saying, yeah, but I'm grateful for. And then it worked for me. So today's topic that I wanted to talk about, I'm sweating all of a sudden. This has been happening all day. I think when my head hurts, I have these like hot flashes. It's what I learned is it's fight or flight. So when my head starts hurting, it starts putting my body into this fight or flight mode, and I start having this like hot flash. So yeah, and that's what it is. It's not anything else, by the way. Okay, so today's topic is finding and keeping peace of mind. So this is suitable. This is what came up in my morning meeting. And, you know, I still had my ups and downs today, even though I was hyper focused on finding and keeping peace of mind. So, one of the AA promises is that we will know serenity. And I've told you guys numerous times, ad nauseum, I've told you about the moment when I realized that I knew serenity. How did I achieve that peace? And once we get that peace of mind to surface, you know, we clean out all of the chaos and have that peace surface. How do we keep it? And especially in the face of life and life's chaos and other people's behavior. That's a big thing. So when I first heard this promise that we will know serenity, I thought, I already know serenity. Like I know what it means. Well, that's not it. It's something that happened. It's something that I knew that I felt for the first time. And I didn't know people could feel that way because I had never felt that way. I didn't know that with the hamster running around and running in the you know, the wheel in my head, I didn't know it was possible to get the mouse to stop running and to actually find that silence in my head, that peace in my head. I just didn't know that that was possible. I thought that's just how I'm made up. And it will always be that way. But as I progressed in my recovery and I went through the steps of the program, things started to quiet down in my head. And I talk about this chaos in my head and this self-talk and and that kind of thing. I don't want you to think that I'm diagnosed with any sort of mental illness that is along those lines. There are lots of mental illnesses that are another level of that kind of chaos in your mind. And I'm not familiar with that. I've never experienced that. But I wanted to just say a little more about that perspective of mine is that it's not a diagnosed like mental disorder that I'm talking about. And so I don't want to um, make light of like people who have a diagnosed disorder that has to do with that kind of real chaos and voices and that kind of thing, because that's a real thing. But as I did the steps, I started to feel like that need to resolve problems and figure out solutions to not just solutions, but figure out and answer every possible solution to every possible thing that could go wrong, started to dwindle a little bit. I started to trust that as I quieted down and was able to start getting comfortable with myself, I was able to get comfortable with this idea that um, I have what it takes. I have the tools in my toolbox to deal with anything that I face. I don't have to think about all of the possible outcomes and find solutions to them. As I started to get familiar with myself and understand myself a little more, then I was able to have a little more faith and trust in myself so that I didn't depend on that voice that kept trying to resolve everything, but yet wasn't doing anything, trying to control everything, but yet was controlling nothing. So it was not obviously overnight. It has been years that I have been working the steps in all of my affairs every day, day in and day out. And step 9, where we actually go out and talk to folks that we have relationships with, and we talk about our role in our relationships, stop pointing blame, but looking at what is my role in our communication. Anything that I may be at fault for or may have altered our relationship because of something I said, like I can talk about that and share with you my feelings about it, offer an amends if it is necessary. And that step 9 process was really huge for starting to really come to peace with a lot of stuff, because you're not holding on to things anymore. And I was always holding on to everything. If somebody made me mad, I would hold on to it forever because that's it. Like you have no other options. Like if you screw me once, then that's that. You are that person who screwed me over, and you're never going to change from being that person forever for the rest of my life. And it's weird to say it out loud, but it's true. Like it's a grudge. I think that's what it is. It's a grudge, and it is forever. That's what my perspective was. So by talking to these people that I may have some sort of grudge against, I'm not approaching them and talking about what they did and why I'm mad at them. Instead, I'm looking at our relationship, how the relationship makes me feel, and what is my role, and how can I make our relationship better? That's it. I'm not pointing fingers about what you may have done and how you did not come through in your role of the agreement. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what could I have done to make things better, or what can I do now? So I shared my fears with people. I shared my regrets with people, and the wreckage that I caused when I was drinking. That's the part of the step 9. And sometimes it was not when I was drinking. The time in my life that I was drinking, there were times that I didn't even have a drink in my hand, but I was still causing wreckage because they say alcoholism is a thinking, right? Part of it is a thinking problem. And my thinker was just completely out of service. It was just not working. And so I was not reasonable. I was not listening. I could hear what you're saying, but I could not get past what I was thinking about the situation. So I heard you, but I wasn't listening. So I started out by sharing these fears, regrets, and my perspective, my role that created that wreckage of my past. I shared it with my sponsor. I shared it with an addiction therapist that I talked to for 2 years, and ultimately shared it with my concept of my higher power. So step 9 is where we end up making amends, to direct amends to those we have harmed. And that is scary. Um, Sometimes I found myself not truly clear on what harm I had caused, but knowing that I could have been a better version of me for you. Um, and that is what I found myself specifically making amends for. And knowing that I am a better version of myself now. So from this point forward, you're going to see a new version of me. And I think by the time I did my step 9, these people had already seen a new version of me. I didn't have to, it wasn't like I was making another promise and that they thought I was going to break, like I did so many times before when I promised I was going to do something and I didn't do it because I was drinking, and I was putting drinking first. So it's really like a living amends almost. Like I can say anything in the world about the role I played in our relationship, but until I actually live in a different way and I show a new version of me that you can experience, um, you're not going to believe me that I'm changed, that I'm changing and that I've changed. I'm going to be changing for the rest of my life. Um, so facing all these people was scary. It was not easy, but I definitely had some conversations that were so long overdue, 20 years overdue. Um, and it was so easy to have just brought it up. Like, why didn't I ever say this before? Why didn't I ever say what I was feeling, what I was truly feeling about our relationship? I was inhibiting the growth of our relationship. Our relationship was never going to get any better or closer than what it was if I didn't share how I was feeling and my fears and my regrets. So it wasn't just an apology. I wasn't just going and saying, you know what? I know I promised that I was going to do this with you, but I'm sorry that I didn't. I was drinking and that won't happen again. That's not what it is. It's really cleaning up the emotional and spiritual wreckage of the past. The why didn't I show up? This is what was going on in my life. And this is how I plan on living differently. That's really what I'm doing when I'm doing a step nine. There's lots of people who articulate how you do step nine differently. And this is just how I talk about it. In the beginning, I remember somebody saying, don't ever say I'm sorry for step nine. That's not what it's about. And I was like, I don't understand. And I still don't understand why somebody would say, don't say you're sorry because that's not what it's about. I don't think there's a problem saying I'm sorry. If you're sorry, you're sorry. But there's a lot more to it, additional stuff about the emotional and spiritual and living changes that are occurring and how that's happening, and allowing not only yourself to be exposed to a situation where you can talk about it, but also shutting up and allowing the other person to talk about it, giving them space to talk about their feelings and their fears. Um, that's important. And some people will and some people won't. But what happened for me wasn't that, like, after I did my step nine amends to people, the chaos in my head didn't just disappear. It was still kind of there. And as I go through life now, having unloaded the stuff, the wreckage, um, when I would come across people that would behave a certain way or act a certain way, it might flare up some of my character defects, and that's where that gets a little tricky because we're talking to people about how we're changing our spiritual, emotional, mental, all of these different layers of who we are. We're practicing this program to apply it to all aspects of our life. And then we end up running across somebody who pisses us off. And then it's like, there's that same reaction that I would have had when I was drinking. Like, it's still there. How do you change that? How do you, um, after acquiring this sort of peace of mind, that the beginning of peace of mind by doing the amends, how do we keep it when there are always things that we can't control, specifically other people's behavior? And in recovery, after you work the step, then you start applying it on a day-to-day basis. So I'm doing step 10 and I'm making a daily review of my interactions with people and how I can do better. So I'm on a daily basis, I'm reconfirming my commitment to changing the way that I live. And maybe that's something to share with somebody that you're doing a step nine with and say, look, part of my program is after my day is done and I'm getting ready to go to bed, I'm going to go back and think about what you and I talked about that day and I'm going to think about, like, was I the best version of me that I could be? And if the answer is no, I'm going to reach out to you and talk about it and tell you where I think I may have screwed up. And that is that commitment. That's the long-term commitment. And for me, doing that step 10 on a daily basis, that is where I'm maintaining peace of mind. I have to revisit my commitment on a daily basis in order to keep peace of mind. Um, I have to revisit, like, am I holding on to something today that I wasn't holding on to yesterday? If I am, I've got to do something about it. I have to take action if I'm holding on to something, because it will never go away if I don't act on it. It will go into that dark place that I talk about, and it will just sit there, and it will get colder and darker and moldier. And then it just begins to change the way I behave. It changes the way I see the world. It changes the way I see you. If you pissed me off and I don't talk to you about it, and I just hold on to it, um, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to change our relationship. Our relationship stops growing from the moment you piss me off and I don't tell you that you pissed me off. Um, and when I talk to somebody about being upset, I am not saying you. I talk to my daughter about this all the time. I'm not saying you did this, you did that, and you pissed me off. It's, I feel this way. This is how I reacted. This is what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm going to do about it. But I wanted to let you know. You know, I'm not going to somebody to tell them that I had a negative reaction to what they said in order to get an apology from them, because that's going in to a step 9 amends with expectations. If you're expecting the other person to apologize for their part, then you're going at it all wrong. And that's what I think I'm learning how to do this without expectations of other people. And I think I've even had an episode where I talked to you about, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to say that I'm sorry to somebody and not have that. I'm expecting them to say, okay. Well, I'm not supposed to expect that. I cannot control how other people act. I can only control how I respond. Um, and the only way that I can control how I react is if I pause and practice responding instead of reacting. So I have to look inward and ask myself, what is my role in this chaos? Am I casting blame, or is there some place where I can take responsibility of my own emotions? And then if I'm going to talk about it with you, that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to take responsibility of my own emotions and my own role in the chaos. And I'm not going to cast blame. If I go into a conversation with somebody and all I want to do is cast blame, or I feel like you, then I need to pause and get my God box out, because that's not the way that this is me in my life, can approach my relationships. It does not work for me. It's confrontational, and I can't do that. I don't work with confrontation at all. So one of the hardest things that I've learned is that peace of mind um, isn't something that you just get and then you can keep it and hold on to it forever. It's something that you have to work out constantly. And that's what I'm talking about. This step 10, like, review your day every day every night and think about, was I the best version I could be? Was what I spoke out into the world the best voice I could have used? Am I adding value to the world, or am I taking it away? It's really fascinating to own up to that, to make a promise to yourself that no matter what happens today, I'm going to go back home at night before I go to bed and I'm going to look at it. And what it did for me is it made me think twice about some of the things that I was going to say, some of the things that I would have thought even. I would check myself and say, nope. When I look at this tonight, I'm gonna be like, you were a total bitch. Like, not, you didn't say anything, but you were thinking things that were really hurtful. And I wouldn't want somebody to think that about me. And it's really worked for me to do that. I'm no saint, obviously, but it really helps me to be a better person by having that promise to myself that whatever you do, you're going to have repercussions tonight. And the repercussions are, if there's somebody that you hurt, or that you may have even said something and it could have come across wrong, you've got to look at it and you've got to take action on it. Um, and then in the morning, I think that it's less, it doesn't happen as much for me now that I don't have a job. I hate saying that I don't have a job. I guess this is my job. I have to figure out how I'm going to approach that, saying I don't have a job. But getting up in the morning with the intention that I'm going to be the best version of myself. Like, that's the morning part. So bookending your day with getting up in the morning and being like, having intention to be the best version. Is your voice, is the voice I'm going to use today the best voice that I can bring forward to the world? And then before you go to sleep, was I the best version of myself? And did I use the best voice for the world that I could have? And I know that there are people who still do things that are hurtful to me, frustrating, or just plain old freaking annoying. And I've realized that when I let those people disrupt my peace of mind, I am giving it away. They are not taking it from me. They can't. I hold my own peace of mind. And if somebody else's behavior or action pisses me off, is hurtful, frustrating, or annoying, and it takes my peace of mind, it's not their fault. It's my fault. I took a hold of my peace of mind and I just handed it to them on a silver platter. They didn't steal it. I gave it to them as a gift. Here is my peace of mind. You can have it. Do whatever you want with it. I don't need it. And that's BS, you know. I want it. I always want my peace of mind. So how do I keep it? How do I not hand it over? And I think one way to do it is through boundaries. Not just boundaries when you're with other people, but boundaries with ourselves. Like, set boundaries around your own thoughts and make decisions about when you're going to engage and when you're going to let go. Make intentional decisions about not getting wrapped up in things. Like, you have the choice to say, I am only going to think about this issue for 5 minutes. And then I've talked about it before. I'm going to get up out of this seat and I'm going to go somewhere else where So I'm changing my entire environment so that I'm not thinking about it anymore. Um, when I feel my peace of mind slipping because of someone else's behavior, I have to remind myself that it's not their fault. It's my choice how I'm going to feel. And I have worked too hard in recovery to let other people derail my joy and serenity that I've surfaced. I have cleared out so much junk, so much dark, heavy, cold, moldy junk in my dark place to let one person's comment or action um, weigh down my joy and serenity. It's just, it's unheard of. I would never do it. It's just, I've worked so hard at it, you know? And that means that I have to check in with myself regularly. It doesn't mean that I have this superpower where somebody can say something mean to me and I don't internalize it. That's not true. Of course I do. But if I do internalize it, I am gonna, at some point during the day, I'm going to have checked in with myself and been like, okay, what happened? What do you feel like? Give it a name. Why do you feel this way? Is there some sort of fear that it surfaced? Is there something you could have done to make that person not react that way? And what comes to mind all of a sudden is I think I shared this with you. Um, well, I don't know when I would have shared it with you because I was driving at the time. So, but maybe I shared it with you about when I was driving. It was after I had the stroke, but I was still driving. And maybe this is the reason why I should not have been driving. It was at Home Depot and I was driving by the front door, and Home Depot in Sterling off of Route 7 is just chaos. It's just chaos. On a Saturday or a Sunday, it's chaos. So I was driving and I did not see this guy in my peripheral vision. He was walking and I should have stopped, and let him walk by, but I didn't see him. And I don't think it was me. I think it was my blind spot, but who knows? Because if it was after my stroke and I was still driving, it could be my vision problem. So regardless, he yelled at me. My window was down and he yelled at me. What did I do? I yelled at him back. And I still feel terrible about that. I don't think that is not who I am. But if somebody gets me at the wrong time, it was probably 100 degrees outside. I was probably upset about something else. And then I hear him yell at me as a person, like put me down as a person, not as a like learn how to drive lady or something like that. Like he put me down as a person. And I was like, oh no, he didn't. And I turned around and I laid into him. And I hate that. That does not happen very often in my life, but there are a handful of times that I've exploded on people. And that's the kind of thing that I had to check in with myself right after that. And I'm sure that I shared that in a meeting. I don't know if I shared it with my sponsor. I should have, but I wasn't great about calling my sponsor back then. So who knows? But that's a great example of learning how making the pause such an immediate reaction that it stops you from breaking your own peace of mind, because that's what it was. I handed over my peace of mind. As soon as I opened my mouth, I just threw up my peace of mind all over him. Um, and it ruined, it really did ruin me for several hours. I was really upset that I allowed that to happen because I had every power to not explode on the guy. And he was right. I think that's why I was so bothered by it, because he was right. That's how I felt. And yet I wanted to defend myself because I truly just didn't see him. And I would have never just not let the guy go. I don't drive like that. So the fact that he was accusing me of just being a person that's not nice like that was just, I don't know. It was really mean. It was really mean. And it's so easy to let someone else's bad mood or rude comment ruin my day if I let it. But um, if I keep close connection with my higher power and my recovery tools, I can stay grounded in this peace of mind. And I'm sure that what was happening was I was not spiritually fit, as I say. I was not spiritually fit. And so he was catching me when I was only hanging on with one arm, from the monkey bars. I was only hanging on with one arm. And when he threw something at me, I fell. And yeah, I won't obsess about that moment anymore, promise. But it's most of the time, it is something that I need to fix internally. If something is wrong with me, then something is wrong with me, if you catch my drift. So today I want to challenge you, and I will challenge myself. The next time that someone else's behavior threatens your peace of mind, try to pause without saying anything. Try to pause. Take a deep breath, because it's probably going to frustrate the hell out of that person that you're not reacting because they're expecting you to, they're ready to take on the fight. Take a deep breath, ask yourself, what can I control right now? And I'll tell you what it is that you can control. It is your own response. And remember that your serenity, your peace of mind is your responsibility. And that is something that you do control. You control your reaction by pausing. You control your peace of mind by holding on to it. And you control your response or lack of response, which is always an option. So peace of mind is absolutely a gift in recovery that I didn't know was possible. But I know that now that I have felt it, I want to protect it. And it's not about avoiding conflict or tough situations, although I do try to avoid conflict. I just hate it. But choosing how to respond and choosing to not let it sit in me, not sit in my dark place. Don't let other people take my joy and serenity. That, you're just wrapping it up as a gift and handing it over. And I think we work so hard to find peace, especially in recovery, folks that are in recovery. And I've said it before, we're all in recovery in some way. And our peace of mind is worth fighting for. So thank you so much for joining me today on the Recovery Daily podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.